What is going on, Sports Minds? It's your boy MJ coming at you with another episode of the Fantasy Fumble. I'm over here with my boy Joe. Joe, how the hell you doing today, brother?
Oh man, it was a rough week. I'll tell you what. Uh, I think I went 2-4, but hey, I'm still alive. I'm still standing, barely. I'm pretty much done in the Champions League. And altogether though, man, it's good. Happy Halloween. Gonna go trick or treating with my son tomorrow. I'm looking forward to that. And I'm
Today?
looking for today. Yeah, we're recording on Wednesday, so it's actually today. Yes,
On
and
Thursday when you drop this.
and I'm also looking forward to some good football this weekend.
Man, I'm right there with you in one of those leagues. I'm like 2-6, right? So I'm
Yeah,
like bottom of the barrel in James's league. I didn't get any trades off in that league. It just it rubbed me the wrong way, and I just kind of like fell off from there. But that happens. That's also like one of the leagues where I had a different draft strategy, and it seemed a little bit weird the way it was set in the first place. So for me, my drafting, you have that contrarian league, that league that's always going to be different
of
from your
course. Yeah.
primary, and unfortunately, that seems to always be my worst league. So outside of that, my other two leagues are pretty good. I'm still in the hunt for 4-4, 5-3. So I got some pretty good records there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I, it's funny because the two contrarian leagues I had where I took a different draft strategy, I'm actually doing really well. And it's kind of just dumb luck because I was just a little bit faster on the waiver wire, paying a little closer attention to some other guys. That the two leagues I'm in with you, those guys are some players. So the Contenders League I'm doing really well, but the Champions League I'm not. And a lot of the same guys, and same thing with James' league. I'm 3-5 in that league, but I actually like my team. It's just that my first three players, I had McCaffrey, Pacheco, and Mike Evans. My top three picks are out, and that's hurt me. So I'm in the same boat as you. I'm struggling to make the playoffs. It's unlikely, but that's the game. And that's why sometimes when you take a different approach and your guys stay healthy, or just some guys you're not expecting to go off, that can go a long way. That can get you into the playoffs.
Oh yeah, ride those waves, baby. Just whatever waves come and go. There's injuries, you pick up the guys. Sometimes those starts are sexier than the stars you got on your lineup already. And that's why
Mm-hmm.
you can't have too many superstars, because when you have too many superstars, like in these 8-man leagues or less, you unfortunately end up losing a lot of that competitiveness, because it's all also stacked for everybody.
Yeah, I had one 10 team league where thank God we had a couple more people join because I couldn't stand it. You have some studs on the waiver wire and a deep bench where you didn't know who to play. I don't want to have too many options. I want to have my go-tos and then a couple guys I'm looking at on my bench thinking, should I start them? I'm not sure, but only like 2 or 3, not 4 or 5.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Makes it more competitive, makes it more fun when you actually have to play that wire, when you have to make trades, when you have to live life by the sword, as I call it, right? Is you're
Yeah.
trading week to week just to stay alive. Unfortunately, that's the name of the game. Sometimes you might give up some future success for some immediate success, because that's where fantasy injuries got you at.
Yeah, you saw me do it in James's league. I
Yeah.
had to I had to make a couple trades to stay alive. We'll see if it works out this weekend.
Good luck.
Now, let's get a quick word from our sponsor, and then we'll get into the news and notes.
Hey there, my name is Manny James Gonzalez with PRB, and I'm a real estate agent here in Central Florida. I'm a U.S. Navy veteran, military relocation pro, and big supporter of 2A and veterans' rights. My specialty is VA transactions. I'm also experienced in all parts of real estate.
I've been living in Florida for over 20 years, and I can tell you we still believe in freedom down here. One of the greatest job markets, excellent economy, and no state income tax. When it comes to an agent, you want one that's going to be honest, not afraid of a fight, and most importantly, willing to do the things that some agents aren't willing to do.
And what's that, Manny?
2 straight, Dan. If you're ever considering buying in Central Florida, you need somebody you can trust, and I got your 6. I'm Manny James Gonzalez, finding land for the free and home for the brave.
Welcome back, ballers. Now let's get into our news and notes. Well, first thing I want to talk about, Manny, is there was another big trade. I think it's a big trade, at least. It's a disruptive trade. Deontay Johnson was traded to Baltimore. And I think that's going to affect Zay Flowers, but also it's probably going to affect Deontay Johnson because his value goes down. Zay Flowers' value goes down. You don't really have confidence in playing either one. I actually don't know who the better play is there. I guess we're going to have to wait and see. And then some bad news. Stephon Diggs is out for the season with a torn ACL. With Nico Collins out, Tank Dell, his value goes way up for a few weeks. And then when Nico Collins comes back in a couple weeks, he's going to go off. There's no question about it. It's going to be very similar to what we saw last year. And although he didn't have much of an impact this year, you know my guy, Christian Kirk, is out for the season with a broken collarbone. So I saw you make a pickup, and after I saw you grab Washington in 2 leagues, is that his name? Washington?
Parker Washington.
Parker Washington. Yeah. So I get, the updates on the ESPN app. I saw you grabbed him, and I was like, oh, how could I have missed that? Because I knew about Christian Kirk. And I was like, how did that not register? So I went and grabbed him in a couple leagues after I got the update that you grabbed him. So good looking out.
News and updates. That's the guy I wanted to talk about, Parker Washington, right? Like in limited games last year, he went off, brother. He had a couple 100-yard games when he was playing for Christian Kirk last year when Christian Kirk was injured.
Yeah.
And Parker Washington is going to be playing in the slot, man. Like that. Trevor Lawrence loves his slot because if you think about it, he's a quarterback that doesn't really get through his progressions all that well, and he just lost his left tackle, Cam Robinson, to a trade. So he's going to be, running out a little bit more than already he's doing, which is already a total mess. But that's going to open it up for the underneath routes, and, the slot guy is going to be the one that's going to be running back and forth, keeping it short. So that's why I grabbed Parker Washington. I was like, man, this guy's going to be a nice flex pickup through these bye weeks.
Yeah, I think so too. He's definitely, especially in a double flex league, he's worth a start.
Oh yeah. A couple other guys, are coming back this week too, or not injuries, but a couple waiver wire pickups that I would say would be Quentin Johnston, wide receiver for the Chargers. A lot of people have dropped him. I actually went and grabbed him in 3 leagues before I realized that Parker Washington was available, and then I just dropped him in all 3 leagues.
Yeah.
So that's how I make my moves. I'll be like, I'll go across because when I have belief, I have strong belief. So I'm not gonna bullshit around. That's why most of my calls have been pretty good. I learned that when you second guess yourself in fantasy football, that's when you start losing, right? Or you go
Usually
away from your gut.
You got to trust your gut.
Yeah.
And I do the same thing, man. I did the same thing with Darius Slayton. So I picked him up in a bunch of leagues, and then I saw that Washington was available, so I dropped Slayton and picked up Washington.
Yeah, I like Parker Washington's rest of the season stock. He's just gonna be a solid dude. He's gonna get better and better, and if he's giving me 10 to 12 points a game, I'm happy.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But outside of that, Niners are on a bye, so if anybody dropped Ricky Pearsall, that's a good pickup there.
Or Jawan Jennings, because he'll probably be back after the bye too.
Yeah, Jawan. Yeah. And on the other side, if people gave up on McMillan already, what's it, Jalen McMillan?
I saw him. He was dropped in one of my leagues too.
Yeah, I dropped him.
Oh, was that you?
Yeah, in James' league, I dropped him.
Okay.
But yeah, sometimes you gotta make moves, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he honestly, That was exactly what I said was going to happen in my player profile, Kate Otten. I said you can roll the dice on one of these wide receivers that's projected at 10 points because there's 3 guys from Tampa Bay that were projected between 8 and 10. And then you had Kate Otten that was projected at 8 or 10 or something. And I mean, you just got to look at the volume he's been getting throughout the year to realize that the chances are Baker's going to lean on him. And that's exactly what happened. That's probably what's going to continue happening, where all the other wide receivers are going to take a back seat to Kate Otten.
Well, he was a nice prospect coming out of college too. So the fact that Tampa Bay had Mike Evans and Chris Godwin meant that Kate Otten couldn't really break out because there was no need for him to break out, right?
Yeah.
Like there's way too many targets going to those other guys for him to not get that target share. So now that he's broken out, now he's going to give them something to, something pretty serious to worry about, and the only thing is, though, obviously Tampa Bay's this is Chris Godwin's last year for the contract, and this is the second time he tore his ACL, I think.
Damn. He was like wide receiver number 1 too when he went out.
Yeah, he was in fantasy football of this year. He's been the top wide receiver until that particular play. It's unfortunate, man. It's been a fantasy injury Armageddon.
Absolutely. Yes. Go get Mike Evans if you can. Go make a trade for Mike Evans if you can, because when he comes back, he's going to be firing on all cylinders.
I just got him. I had to give up JT, but I got him and I got Josh Jacobs back, so I'll take it.
But one thing to mention about Josh Jacobs, let's get into it real quick. Guys that did not practice today. Josh Jacobs did not practice. Tyrone Tracy Jr. with a concussion, and Tony Pollard with a foot. So those 3 running backs did not practice today. And wide receivers, again, Michael Pittman Jr. and Josh Downs for the Indianapolis Colts. Both of them did not practice today. T. Higgins, who has been doing very well, did not practice today. Alan Lazard has already been ruled out for week 9. And DK Metcalf did not practice today either. And then at tight end, still got Dallas Goedert injured with the hamstring. And at quarterback, this was notable. Lamar Jackson did not practice today with a back and a knee injury. And then Jared Goff. Those were 2 recent additions to the injury report. Lamar and Jared Goff did not practice today. And then, of course, Jordan Love with the groin injury. That was a weird injury. Did you see how that happened? It was like
he got hit from behind.
Yeah.
And
but it looked like nothing. It was weird.
Like I think he did it to play during, and then he just felt it at that moment.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Because that hit just kind of like he felt the hit, and then all of a sudden he realized that he pulled his groin.
Yeah,
it's all adrenaline at that point, right?
You're probably right. Yeah, that must have been what happened.
Yeah, so I think for that, but also, what about Jaden Daniels? Did he practice, or is he?
He did. He was limited, I think.
Okay, because I know he's wearing a rib protectors. And we could give him his flowers, right? Because Jaden Daniels, man, with the rib injury, he's still coming in playing, and he's still running like he ain't scared, man.
Oh, I made plans not to play him, and then when I saw he was active, I'm like, man, you have to. Like, look at this. You got to, like, even though, you weren't sure if he was going to be limited or how aggressive he was going to be in there, he was the same old guy. And he looked awesome.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
Now let's get into our hot matchups.
All right. Welcome back. It's time for today's hot matchups of the week.
Sure is. Who's your hot matchup, Manny?
Now, for my hot matchup, I went ahead and went with the Lions versus the Packers. That is going to be an excellent game. So you got the NFC North is the best division in football right now, in my opinion. Like they're just really cranking it out. They have, a lot of star talent on the offensive side of the ball. Defense, they have some solid defenses, and man, they all play in the same division. So Lions versus Packers. Packers are playing with Malik Willis, but I don't expect them to have much of a drop-off. Yes, downgrade your wide receivers for Green Bay, but there's certain players you upgrade. For example, should Josh Jacobs play? Automatic upgrade. I definitely love Romeo Doubs is going to be a solid flex. So low floor, low ceiling, but he's somebody that you could plug in and you're going to get your 10 to 12. And then, of course, the Jaden Reed will be more involved as well, because anytime that they're without their quarterback, they're going to be using more of gadget type plays. And Lions have been susceptible to big plays. So you just got to bust them open on that side of the ball. Now, obviously, I wanted to say the Lions for last because we already know who the Lions are. They have a two-headed ram of running backs with Jahmyr Gibbs and Dave Montgomery. Like, they call themselves Sonic and Knuckles, right? So speed and then toughness. So, I mean, you're not going to be able to stop Detroit's run game. Their offensive line is too good. You just got to contain it, right? So they're going to run on you. Amon-Ra and Laporta is finally coming back, so Amon-Ra is going to be out there. And they even had one thing that I don't love about Detroit is that they always get a third guy involved too. So I guess because Jameson Williams is out, that has, last week that was Khalif Raymond. I wouldn't go bank on any of those guys. To be honest, personally, I would go with this big names and then just avoid those guys because you never know who is going to be that's going to get that workload.
Yeah, and I think with Jameson Williams being out, I mean, you could see that it helped Laporta. Amon-Ra is going to get the volume either way, but I think it did actually help Laporta finally start doing what we expected him to do. And, I mean, that sucks. Jameson Williams in some trouble, but he'll come back. And I do think having one less target in there, like Khalif Raymond's not going to be as involved. And I expect another big day from Laporta, Amon-Ra, and of course, Sonic and Knuckles for sure. I'm a little worried about the Packers. I don't know for sure who's playing a quarterback yet. I don't think anyone does, but maybe
Malik Willis. He started a few games.
Yeah, but I'm saying, did they say he's going to start this week?
Oh, no, like between him and Jordan Love?
Yeah. Did they say who's going to be starting? Or are they waiting to see how Jordan Love feels?
Well, Jordan Love's trying to push through it. I doubt he's going to play. I mean, he didn't finish out the game. They took him out for the game. He couldn't even walk on it. I'm sure they're going to give him another week of rest. And, I mean, Malik Willis did look really good when he did start for those two games.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I like Malik Willis. I just wasn't sure if they named a starter or if they were planning to play Jordan Love. But you're right that, that will affect the run game if Josh Jacobs plays, but you got to keep a close eye on him. If he plays, he's going to be fine. That dude's an animal.
Got him in all my leagues.
I know you do. Now for my hot matchup, I have the Bills versus the Dolphins. Last week, the Bills and the Dolphins both looked good, even though the Dolphins got a loss. It was a close game. And Josh Allen and James Cook have been great. Those guys are a lineup lock every single week, of course. Amari Cooper didn't do anything, but it was his first game with the Bills, and I think with another game of practice, he'll get enough volume to be a flex play. I know it's like you're a little apprehensive to start him because of last week, but I think a week of practice goes a long way with someone that's at his level. But he is banged up, so keep an eye on that. And then, unfortunately, the Bills wide receivers as a whole are unpredictable, but Khalil Shakir has been pretty solid this season, even with limited opportunities, and the same goes for Keon Coleman. But he is a somewhat risky play. But still, those guys as a whole, like that whole wide receiver core, with limited opportunities are putting up pretty big numbers. So I like everyone on that side of the field. And then Tua, his first game back, he did better than I expected. He only had one touchdown, but he didn't have any turnovers. And I think he'll be better this week, even against a tough Bills defense. And I wouldn't expect much from Waddle, but I would expect more from Tyreek. And Mostert might steal some goal line work from Achane, but look what Achane did last week. That dude's an elite running back. And I think this game is just going to be a very high-scoring game. And it's going to be in the air and on the ground. It's just going to be a great game to watch, and I'm looking forward to everyone getting better. I know people are worried about Tua. I'm one of those people. I was talking shit on Tua last year about getting injured, and I was talking shit about him again. But, I want to see him do well, and he's been fearless. He's been very vocal about, hey, I'm confident in my ability, and I love this game. I'm going to play football, and I'm going to play it exactly how I want to play. which is, fearless. So I think that's going to be a big game, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, definitely. Dolphins versus uh, the Bills. I expect some fireworks for sure. Uh, as far as the Bills side, obviously you named all the guys there. I also like Dalton Kincaid. He's getting a lot of goal line or red zone looks. He's just not pulling them in. And I know this because I have Kincaid in a couple leagues, so I'm obviously specifically looking for that in the red zone, right? If
For
I'm watching
sure.
red zone all day.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I do see the looks there. He's just not able to pull them in. So he's somebody that I recommend people buy low on now. I think he'll be a little bit more solid down when the months get colder, when they start playing that the late season football. That's when I think you're going to start seeing the tight end kind of emerge a little bit more from Buffalo. But in regards to this game here, on the Dolphins side, obviously another game for Tua is going to be a better game, because he's going to be back in the swing of things. Now he has 2 full weeks of practice under him.
Yeah.
So he's basically getting back into the swing of things. That means Tyreek is going to come up, and you might even see some flashes of Waddle. One thing I can tell you for sure is Devin Achane is matchup proof. Like that guy, as long as he's healthy, you start him because it doesn't freaking matter. He's going to go out there. He's going to get his points. He's going to get his touches. And like I said, the only caveat to him is durability. Outside of that, he's an excellent play.
But even when he got a little banged up, he bounced right back this year, which was nice to see. And yeah, like you said, he's matchup proof. And Mostert, even if he's stealing some goal line touches and actually scoring touchdowns and stealing touchdowns, it's not affecting Achane. So you're going to play him.
Not at all.
Now, another game I want to mention that has the potential to be a hot matchup is the Bears versus the Cardinals. The Bears have a solid defense, but the Cardinals don't. So if the Bears can put up some numbers and then the Cardinals have to respond, or if they just keep the offense going back and forth, you got a lot of weapons on both sides of the field. Wide receiver on the Bears, you got DJ Moore and Keenan Allen, both been looking really good lately. And then on the other side of the field, you got Marvin Harrison Jr., and you also got Trey McBride that's basically a wide receiver. And then for the Bears, you got the other tight end, Cole Kmet, who's been, he's had plenty of down weeks, but he's had a couple really good weeks too. And then, of course, at running back, you got James Conner and DeAndre Swift. So there's going to be a lot of back and forth offense, even with a good defense. So I could see that game potentially turning into a huge, huge game.
Yeah, and 2 stud running backs, like you mentioned. So that's going to be they're going to pound it up the middle and just kind of weaken up the defense a little bit. But yeah, I think that could definitely open up some passing. And I would love to see another career game for Marvin Harrison. I mean, he's a rookie, but I mean, he's looking when he does get the ball, he's looking great.
Oh yeah,
when he's focused.
Yeah, that ceiling's really high for him, and the same with DJ Moore. When he's having one of those games where he's on fire, that ceiling is high.
Oh yeah. Now, for my honorable mention hot matchup or my potential also shootout, I picked the Cowboys versus the Falcons. Without even looking at the spread, which is 51.5, by the way. So it's one of the highest rated games of the week.
Oh, man.
I just thought that one had the potential for fireworks. I mean, you made a player profile on Kirk Cousins before, and man, that's looking spot on because Kirk Cousins has just really been – Kirko Chains has been moving them chains, man, and he's doing it, brother. He's just putting it out there. So, I he put Mooney on the map. Drake London's looking like a top 10 wide receiver right now.
Time.
And even Kyle Pitts, he brought out the true potential of Kyle Pitts now. He's looking like he should have 4 years ago.
And this is all the stuff we talked about at the beginning of the season when we said it could go either way. But if they can fall in line and sync up, man, you got some weapons all working together. And it's been fun the last few weeks to watch that happen.
Yeah, and then obviously Bijan Robinson, they're finally feeding him the rock, so you get to see him go off and cut because the Cowboys are banged up on defense. And then, of course, on the Cowboys side, CeeDee Lamb's going to have another career day because I don't think the Falcons, even with their stud secondary, are going to be able to stop him. he's just he's flowing right now. Might even get some Rico Dowdle love. I don't know.
I hope so, man.
With definitely some Jake Ferguson sprinkled in there, right? Because he's gonna get his looks. But I think potential for some good matchups. Jalen Tolbert, I don't really like him as much, but he's a potential flex. But those are your guys you're looking at for there.
Yeah, man, I agree with that. And I had no idea the over was that high, but with the way those offenses have looked lately, doesn't surprise me. Hope you're right about that, man. I hope we do get to see some Rico Dowdle, because I have to start him in a couple leagues this week. So
figured.
You know which those they're both your leagues. I have them in both your leagues. I need him to have a big day.
Yeah, at least you're 4-4 in one of them.
Yeah, for sure. I love that team. That's one of those teams I was talking about where when you have a decent flex, he's one. It's a double flex, so he's one of my flex plays. I'd love to see him get 12 or 15 points. That'd be great.
When you have a good 3-headed monster at running back, you're set for like the fantasy.
Oh
season.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Is 3 running backs when you have a double flex league and you've got like. Boom, boom. And then you look down to that flex and you're like, holy shit, that's another RB1. Yeah, that gets people shaken up.
Oh, yeah. It definitely does. Makes them make stupid trades and mistakes too. So, yeah. And then they got people like me just preying on them. Shout out to the guys in my league that call me a trade raper. I don't allow those. I don't allow.
It was so funny, those memes about trading. That is me, dude. And every time I'm trying to get something going, I'll fire off like 5 or 6 trades at a time. And someone in the league will send those trades out. The one that was cracking me up from Ozark, when it's like, that chick screaming about her.
If you want to stop me, you're gonna have to fucking kill me.
That shit was so funny. And then the other one with Bill Pullman talking to Jake Gyllenhaal. He's like, I don't think you understand the offer. He's like, I'm not interested.
Yeah. Oh man.
But anyway, good stuff. Time. You got to be active, man. That's what keeps it fun. Talking shit too. That makes it fun.
Oh yeah. Now we're going to talk about the cold matchups of the week.
All right, ballers. Time for our cold calls of the week. And I got one that's ice cold. It's the Patriots, the 2-6 Patriots versus the 1-6 Titans. Both of these teams, we shouldn't laugh. These are professionals. Both of these teams have virtually no offense. Tony Pollard can normally provide you with a solid floor of about 15 points, but he's banged up and he didn't practice today. He's one of those guys. Did I list him? I meant to list him if I didn't. Ramondre Stevenson looked good last week, but he usually needs heavy volume or a touchdown to put up respectable numbers. We've seen a handful of busts this year, and I got to say, one thing on the bright side is he does seem to be healthy now, but you're not starting him with the same confidence as you did earlier this year when you saw a couple boom games in a row. And Calvin Ridley, he's a straight boomer bust. I mean, it's the same old story, just a different year. There's no in between. Boom, bust. You never know what you're going to get. He had 2 awesome games this year, and the rest have been really bad. And Hunter Henry, he's not a bad option at tight end, but, it's tight end. And then Demario Douglas, he's shown potential, but he's on waivers in most of my leagues. I wouldn't start him. I just keep your expectations in check with all these guys. It's not going to be pretty.
Yeah, definitely. And I agree with you. On the Patriots side, you're definitely starting Hunter Henry with a question mark. So the only way you're starting him is if you have George Kittle on a bye and he was available, right? Or if you don't have you play the matchups. And this one, Titans are a tough defense. So I don't see the Patriots getting a lot of action off of them there. And like you said, outside of that, Ramondre, he would probably be a flex I would start because he's as long as he's healthy, he's playing. But you do take the risk of him getting pushed out of that game because he's done that already twice this year.
Yeah.
So you definitely take that with a grain of salt. And then on the Titans side, Tony Pollard's somebody I love, but he is on a terrible team. And one thing I always tell people, if you're going to trade for a player, make sure it's a player on a good team on the uptick, because when it rains, it pours. And when they're stinking up the joint, I mean, players aren't happy, and, it's rare they get traded to another team to a better situation. So unless the only time that change ever happens is if that head coach gets fired and they just take over and have a whole new regime, right then and there. So
yeah, it's like usually a demand when you get to that level. Someone's unhappy.
mhm.
And I do like Tony Pollard. I'm just saying that, yeah, he is on a bad team, but like even the rest of the season, I really like Tony Pollard. I know you did a player profile on Tony Pollard too, because you were talking about his upside. I think he's pretty much the offense on that team. And I do really like him for the rest of the season, but he's banged up right now. And it's just not a great game to lean on him for more than 10 or 12 points, but he could get 15 or 20 easy. It just depends on his health and if he's ready to go 100%.
Also, perfect opportunity to buy low on him.
Absolutely.
Someone's willing to trade, but obviously you got to be in a league that's active. We all seen leagues out there that are active, some that aren't, where you're getting trades, and some of them where everyone's just completely dead silence, radio silence. No one likes being in those leagues, right? It's like
That's one thing I
money.
love about your leagues, man. Everyone's very active on trades, and we talk a lot back and forth just in the public forum. This is what we got. Like, hey, man, I need a running back. What's up? And you get a conversation going. I love that.
Yeah, definitely. It's something that I do enjoy, and I want to continue to build, but it's hard to like really know what a guy is like in a league until they play in a league. So that's why I'm going to start having these little practicer leagues too, where I just put newer guys in there. They all play against each other, and I have my regulars in a specific, the big boy leagues. Those are the fun ones. Those have the trophies. As you can see here, this is a trophy from one of them.
Beautiful trophy.
Yeah, and I pride myself on how I run them. And as a matter of fact, an update for you, so for next year, because these leagues are so competitive. Obviously, there's guys that play the waiver just like me and you that like just have this really better competitive edge over everyone else, right? There's players like that. This league is full of them. So what I was thinking of for next year, well, I was definitely going to cut it down from 2 IR spots down to 1 for sure.
I like that. Yeah.
So you could only package one, stash one player. If you want to stash another player, he's going to take up a regular bench spot. So those are updates I was going to make, but also I was going to drop the bench spot by 1 more. So from 16 to 15. So then that way, it allows a little bit more value on the waiver wire.
I love that, man. That's exactly how my league is. And another thing I discussed with the guys that are real serious in that league is, so I have 2 leagues with my high school buddies, and I was going to take the most serious and most competitive players from each league. And we were going to start a league with 2 quarterback league so it would be 2 quarterbacks, 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, 2 flex, and that's it. So no defense, no kicker, and just 2 quarterback, running back, wide receiver, flex. So basically you just got to load up, but we are going to keep the bench 1 spot smaller too and take away IR altogether.
Yeah.
So just keep it real tight. I don't know, it's experimental, but we were just bullshitting back and forth, and a lot of the guys are interested in that format. I've never done something like that, so it would be cool.
Yeah, I hear about 2 quarterback leagues. That's definitely something that's a possibility. But I think that the way that with the double flex, it gives you so much, it allows you to stack your team up so much better.
Yeah.
Like running backs and wide receivers, because that's what you need. You don't need to load up on quarterbacks, and if you're doing a 2 quarterback, if you're doing multiple spots, right, like kicker and defense, and you're doing a 2 quarterback league, you're losing bench spots because of those 2 positions, especially on bye weeks.
I love when you have those double flex leagues and you got a squad where you've got just like a stud in every slot, that's intimidating. When you see that lineup, you're like, damn, look at that projection. That's going to be a tough week. I love that.
Yeah, it is. The good thing is ESPN is always off. So,
you can't lean on that. But I mean, it's a good gauge, but you got to look into all those projections. There's so many times where I'm just shaking my head on trying to understand the projection. That's why you can't give them too much credit. You got to do your own research.
Or listen to us. Duh.
Or just listen to us.
That's the easier thing.
Got a question, fire in the comment.
Now, for my cold matchup, I went with the Aints versus the Panthers. Sorry, Saints fans. I'm a Philly fan. It's personal.
It's gonna be a sad game, man. That's gonna be a tough one to watch.
Yeah, it's gonna be rough, man. Saints, obviously, the only player you're starting there with confidence is gonna be Alvin Kamara, right?
Right.
Even Chris Olave, you're hoping, hey, is he gonna get a concussion or is he gonna break something? Like, what's going on? He's a small receiver, man. Like,
I know he is. Yeah, I mean he's a stud, but the dude's had a rough year already.
Yeah, and he's so good. He's so talented, So it sucks to see him going back into similar trends, right?
I know.
Outside of that, David Carr's coming back. I'm still, apprehensive with him. I don't really care to actually have him start. And then on the flip side, the Panthers. I have some serious stock in Xavier Legette, and his ceiling is a flex, right? So he's not going to be somebody that you're looking at high numbers, but he also has a really low floor. So not anybody that I really recommend starter unless it's a desperation flex move, right? Like injuries and whatnot. Right. On the other side, like you said, Deontay Johnson's gone. Maybe Adam Thielen comes back from IR this game. His 21-day practice window was activated last week. So maybe we might see some, Puka and Cooper Kupp renaissance, right? Where he comes back and he's just like balling, or he could just come back and just stink up the joint. That's all dependent on whether Andy Dalton plays or not. So
yeah, I mean, that's another piece exactly. And I grabbed Thielen in a couple leagues, and I'm not exactly sure what to expect, but in the back of my mind, I was thinking exactly what you just said. Hey, maybe he's going to come back and just explode because he's proven people wrong so many times before. And I'm one of those people that doubted him and he shoved it down my throat. So I picked him up in a couple leagues. And even if he does play this week, I'm probably not going to play him, but just to see what he does. Because if he has a big game, then you probably will start him next week. And Xavier Legette is one of these guys. I've picked him up and dropped him like 3 times in like 5 different leagues. And it's just so frustrating because you're like, he's the only guy. He's the only option. He's going to have at least 10 or 12. There's no question about it. And then he just doesn't. And like you said, his ceiling is a flex play at best. So even if he's the only guy out there on Sunday, you just don't know what he's going to do. And it's probably not going to be much.
Yeah, or it could be a really good day. Saints,
we'll see.
But the problem is Marshawn Lattimore is going to be guarded up against him. So let's see how good he does.
And maybe, who knows, maybe Taysom Hill will have one of his freaky days where he has 2 touchdowns and like 40 rushing yards and then disappears for a month or 2 after. Who knows?
Yeah. Don't forget 100 passing yards with the touchdown.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to predict what he'll do on any given week, but that would be a really big balls call there. Well, Manny, it's time for our shit call of the week. Now, my shit call, I said Travis Kelce lost the step and not to expect a big game from him against the Raiders, but he finished with 25 fantasy points last week, and he's really been great in 3 of his last 4 games. So I need to check myself and remember that Travis Kelce is still one of the best tight ends in the league, even if he lost a step and had a slow start to the season. So I'm sorry. I should not have told you to lower your expectations. Travis Kelce is still the man in Kansas City. And of course, DeAndre Hopkins is going to be more involved, but Travis Kelce's definitely still the guy there. And I expect him to have a really big second half of the season. And I should have, taken a step back and thought to myself, hey, he's had 3 or 4 bad games, but look what he did over the last 2 out of 3 games before I made that call about, he's playing the Raiders. I mean, shit, you got to expect him to get double digits, and that's exactly what he did, and then some, 25 fantasy points. So, yeah, maybe he has lost a step, maybe he hasn't. He's still the guy.
All right, I hear you, and it's good to humble yourself and take a moment to like realize what you were wrong on, because you just take it and you're like, what did I do wrong when analyzing that, and you learn from it. A lot of times it's just dumb luck, right? Good or bad, right? So you can't really predict certain things, especially like injuries.
Yeah, of course.
Now, for my shit call, I mentioned that obviously Tyreek Hill was going to have a big game. He was supposed to come in and really ball out if with Tua playing back, and he was really mediocre. And I don't. When you have chemistry with the quarterback, I know it's possible to get off beat, for here and there, but it seemed a little bit more than that. It seems like the coaching to me is taking a little bit of a step back. So with the play calling, so they're not being as aggressive as they once were. So obviously they couldn't with no quarterback, but I know they're looking out for Tua. So I guess for my shit call, it's basically thinking that that Tyreek was going to come back and just be his normal self. Obviously, for anybody out there that has him, I preach patience, because he's going to come back and have his big days. Just like CD finally had his big day last week. It took him all season to get. And he was still hitting 20 a game, which is respectable. So but anyways, that's my humbling experience for the week.
Yeah, man, and I got humbled during the game. I sent you a text message at halftime saying that CD isn't even fun to watch anymore. And then the second half he comes out and he's like, "Fuck you."
Yeah,
like, I'm fun to watch. Watch this. It was great. I have him in 2 leagues. It was great to see, but it's been frustrating with CD, and I know how it's frustrating with Tyreek. But you're right. You give it some time. He's going to be in sync with Tua the more time they get on the field together. And it was the first game back from Tua. I have a feeling that Miami is going to loosen up a little bit, but we knew that we had to lower our expectations for Tua on that week, and that will directly affect Tyreek's production, which it did. But you still saw him getting like 6 or 8 targets. I can't remember what he got. I think he got 6 or 7 targets. But the thing is, the more time that goes by, they're going to fall in line just like they have been in the past. And I don't know how well Tua is going to finish, but Tyreek is going to be, at the tip top of wide receivers at the end of the season. I have no doubt about it. As long as Tua stays healthy.
Welcome back, big ballers. I am so sorry. Is that time of the day? It's the time where we have to leave you and you have to obsess over our voices in your dreams. I am so sorry, but we do appreciate all the love, the support. You guys are awesome. This is what we want to do. This is the dream here, right? Get paid to talk football in your mom's basement. We are about to live the dream, guys. So keep sharing, keep supporting. We love and appreciate you. Joe, you got anything for these guys here?
No, man, I agree. Just like, comment, subscribe. I hate asking for that. It feels lame asking for that, but it does help. So if you like our channel, hey man, tell your friends about it. If we've given you some good advice, subscribe instead of just watching the player profiles each week. We'll give you the or YouTube will send you those automatic updates if you subscribe. Hey, they upload a new video. Come check it out.
Or TikTok, that's where we're at.
And TikTok,
guys.
yeah,
TikTok,
man.
Fantasy Football Sports Minds on TikTok. So
sure.
You'll find us on there, guys. We put up all of our clips there. YouTube has all of our full videos, and then Rumble as well, right?
Yeah, on Rumble too, for sure. And Apple Podcasts, Spotify. If you just want to listen while you're in the car, please subscribe to us wherever you want. Wherever you listen to fantasy football, we are there.
Oh yeah. Your 12-man PPR experts over here appreciate the support, guys. You have a good rest of your day, and we'll see you in the same time, same place next week.
Did you hear
over
that
here.
ding? I just got a trade offer, I think.
Oh,
Did you hear those chimes? I love those chimes.
That's the chime that makes me wanna.
You're telling me, baby.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, we appreciate you. See you next time. All right. Have a good one.